Hi everyone. Today I am going to give a short demo on Spring and Spring Boot. Demo on Spring and Spring Boot. Spring and Spring Boot are two popular frameworks used for developing Java-based applications. Spring and Spring Boot are popular frameworks to develop Java-based applications. Now we will understand the use of frameworks. Now we'll understand the use of frameworks. Before we talk about the Spring Framework, let's start from the basics. When we develop web applications in core Java, we usually work with servlets, JSPs, and package everything into .jar or .var files. Like, like to develop web applications using core Java, we usually work with servlets. One is servlets, the second one is JSPs, and third one is packaging everything in .jar or .var files. But as application grows bigger, we face challenges like writing too much boiler code, managing dependencies manually, and it is also difficulty in managing large projects. Like as applica- as application grows bigger, we may face challenges like one is writing too much boiler code, BOIL boilerplate code means repetitive code is written too much. The second challenge is managing dependency manually. Managing dependencies dependencies manually is a pain because when we forget to upload or include a dependency, our entire project will collapse. So it is very tough to manage dependencies manually by adding each of the dependencies into our project. And the third challenge is difficulty in difficulty in managing difficulty in managing large projects like projects using microservices. These are the three challenges which may get when we use project development using core Java and servlets, JSPs, and packaging everything in jar and jar files. So that's where frameworks like Spring come in. They make development faster, easier, and more maintainable. Frameworks frameworks like Spring and Spring Boot makes development faster and easier and also more maintainable. So this is the advantage of frameworks where we can easily develop our project development. Now introduction to Spring Framework. Spring is a lightweight framework that provides a powerful architecture for building enterprise level applications. It is a light it is a lightweight framework that provides a powerful architecture for building projects. Spring is not a single project, it's it's actually a collection of multiple projects and modules. Spring is not a Spring is not a single project. It it actually collection it is a collection of Spring Core. The second one is Spring MVC. The third one is Spring Data. So these are the three main frameworks or modules created by Spring to develop web-based applications. The core power of Spring lies in a concept called IOC. The main the main art of the Spring is concept of concept of IOC. IOC stands for IOC stands for inverse, inversion of control. That means giving control of Object creation, that means giving control of object creation to framework to easily handle and maintain our code. Now we will see detail into the IOC. IOC, the art of Spring. Let's understand what IoT means. IOC means normally in core Java, the developer is responsible for creating and managing objects. For example, for example, in core Java, we create objects as follows: my class, obj, new, my class, obj dot method 1, it calls method. Here we the developers are controlling the creation and life cycle of object. Here we created object and we are responsible for maintenance of that object also. But in Spring this control is inverted. Like we give everything control of creating class to the Spring. It will handle and maintain the every code and Spring creation also, meaning that Spring itself creates and manages the objects. This is why it's called inversion of control. Now we will see why IOC is useful. Why IOC is useful. If we manually create and manage objects in Java, it can lead to memory leaks or even cause the application to get stuck. If we two problems will arise, two problems will arise if we create objects in traditional way. They are, one is memory leak, the other one is application stuck. These are the two problems which will arise if we create objects in traditional way, like this way. So Spring IOC container solves this by efficiently handling the creation, initialization and destruction of objects. So Spring IOC handles handles and solves object creation, initialization and maintenance also. Now we will see Spring Boot. Now let's talk about Spring Boot, which is an extension of the Spring framework. Spring Boot is built upon the Spring framework to speed up the uh, project development. Spring Boot is developed on top of Spring to speed up the project development. And one key difference between Spring and Spring Boot is here in Spring framework uh, there is a lot of use of XML files for dependencies to handle dependencies, but in Spring we can handle it by annotations. Key differences between Spring and Spring Boot is Spring Boot is we can in Spring lot of XML dependencies, XML configuration is used, but in Spring Boot we can replace XML with configurations with annotations, sorry. And also other key differences, uh, web servers are comes built in. Web server like Tomcat comes as default for Spring Boot. So Spring Boot was introduced to make Spring application development even faster and simpler. It eliminates the need for heavy configuration files and setup. Spring Boot provides auto configuration, embedded servers like Tomcat, and production ready features like monitoring, health checks, and metrics. So this is the fundamentals of Spring and Spring Boot. Now we will see what is the role of IOC container. Now we will see role of IOC container. Role of IOC container. In Spring, IOC is implemented through the IOC container. This container is responsible for creating, initializing, and managing the lifecycle of objects, which we call beans in Spring. IOC concept IOC concept is implemented through IOC container which presents inside the Spring Boot application. Inside the Spring Boot application. Now we will see Spring's IOC container. When we create a Spring Boot application, a Spring container automatically starts when the application runs. So the container automatically starts, IOC container automatically starts when we create the Spring Boot application. So it will take care of the object creation. With the object which is created by the Spring container is known as the bean. So bean is known as bean is known as object created by IOC container. So Spring creates and manages objects automatically. Spring uses annotations concepts like at the rate component, at the rate service, at the rate repository, at the rate controller. So to automatically detect and create objects at runtime. Spring uses annotations like Spring uses annota annotations like first is at the rate component. This is the primary primary annotation for creation of object. The second one is service service also used to create object on service layer. Mm, the third one, this is second one, and the third annotation is controller. So, controller is also used used for object creation in controller layer. What happens if we use new keyword while creating the objects in traditional way? Now we will see what happens. Now we will see what happens when we create object manually. Like for example, like what we used before, we use same example. This is the example. So if we use this kind of this kind of process to create the object, Spring is not responsible. Spring is not responsible for object creation and also management and also object management. So we need to take care of ourself object creation and everything dependency injection and dependencies also. So now we will wrap up our summary. So to summarize this every concept, the IOC container is the core part of the Spring framework. It's responsible for creating and managing objects known as beans. When we use annotations like at the rate service or at the rate component or at the rate auto Spring automatically writes and manages those beans. But if we create objects manually using new keyword, does not manage the Spring does not. So Spring is not responsible to manage those objects. Yeah, this is my demo for today, and my demo is on Spring and Spring Boot. Thank you.